sitting here with Pastor John McCallum from First Hot Springs, and he is no stranger to grief. And a lot of you probably watching are no stranger to grief as well. We've had a lot of loss in our community, in our church here, and we've been talking a lot about grief here in the church. Pastor John has been doing some sermons on that and a grief workshop. And so during his workshop, he hands out a worksheet and kind of works through some different things. And at the top of the worksheet, you said, grief is the normal human response to any significant loss. And then in your sermon on Sunday, you said something along the lines of grief is a natural response when something precious has been broken. And I think everyone can latch onto some part of that, because we have all lost someone. We have all lost something that is significant, that is precious in our lives. And so I think it's important for the grieving person to understand that it's natural to go through grief, that emotions and behaviors that come with it are natural. And so it can come in waves. It can blindside you. But my biggest question from listening to the sermon, listening to your first session in the workshop is grief ever resolved? Is that something you really get over, or is it something that just lingers forever?
Yeah, good question. And grief is the natural response, like Doug Manning says. It's like sneezing when your nose itches. It's nature's way, feeling a broken heart. Because human beings are resilient. You know, we can be knocked down, but there's a survival instinct in almost all of us that's going to get up. And grief is the way we get back up when we've been knocked down by some loss, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a divorce, maybe even you think everything's going great at the job and the boss knocks on your door and comes in and says, hate to tell you this, but we've got to have some cuts and you're one of them. Yeah. So any kind of loss. I mean, a kid who doesn't make the team, who gave his whole heart to it. Grief comes in so many ways. But yeah, you can resolve grief. Grief is resolved. Grief is the process that God gives us and that nature gives us to resolve, to get through our grief, to reorganize our life, reorient our life without what we lost, whether it was a person or a marriage or whatever. But it doesn't just happen because of time. It's not like, well, I feel horrible today, but 6 months I'm going to be, doing great. It's not that. The best way to do it is to work on your grief. And there are things you can do to intentionally try to work through your grief rather than just being a victim of whatever emotions come, because those emotions will come and you will feel like a victim. But again, you get up and you say, okay, now I need to work on this. This is my task this week or this year, this month. I want to get here in my process. Yeah.
So it's a process. It's something you work through.
Yeah. And some grief you get over and some grief you just get through. Somebody that you love, that's not necessarily an every single day part of your life. Your life's not really revolving around them, but you really enjoy them. You get over that kind of grief. Yeah. You grieve them, you mourn them, you feel the loss, but you get on with your life and you don't notice a lot. But I've yet to talk to any parent who's ever lost a child, whether it was an older parent who lost like a 60-year-old child, or whether it was an infant or a teenager or anything. I've yet to talk to one who told me that they don't think about their kid every day. Yeah. They all think about that kid every single day, most of them multiple times a day. I've lost my parents. I've lost some close friends. I can't say that I think about them every day. Those are the kind of grief. That's the kind of grief you can kind of get over. Yeah. Really, but that losing a child, that you get through it. Yeah. You can get over it in the sense that you go on with your life. You can have joy again. You can engage life, and but you just, that nagging sense of loss because a part of you has died.
Yeah,
with that child.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that kind of leads into another question I had during the workshop. You went through different manifestations of normal grief, whether it's feelings, behaviors, cognitions. You asked people in the room to raise their hand if they had ever gone through these certain things. Mm-hmm. And you asked about anxiety, and almost every hand in the room just shot up. So why do you think that's the case? Are people afraid of their own emotions? Are they afraid of the unknown? Is it a fear of facing first without that person? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, yes, and yes.
Okay.
It's all of those things. Number one is all of a sudden you've got a situation, even if you planned for it, even if you knew this person was going to pass, you still are thrust into a situation where you're going to have to deal with some things that you aren't emotionally necessarily ready to do. It takes all the emotion you can use sometimes in deep grief just to get out of bed in the morning. And so to think I've got to settle this estate, or I've got to clean out this closet, or I've got to make some big decisions about my future because of finances. Even it can create anxiety just filing all the death certificates you got to file with all the people. You got to start dealing with government, with Social Security, perhaps. All just so much creates anxiety, as well as how am I going to make it now without this person?
Right.
I counted on them for this, this, or this. What am I going to do now? So anxiety is a natural emotion in grief. If you don't feel anxious, that's probably indicates you're just in total shock and you haven't recognized how much trouble you're in.
That's fair. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So it is a natural response. It is something that most people, if not everybody, is going to deal with at some point.
No, I think anxiety just facing your day.
Yeah.
Most people have some anxiety every day for this or that. Add in a super significant loss. A loved one with whom you live, or a job that you depended on, or a marriage you counted on. Yeah, anxiety.
Yeah.
It's going to go up.
So that leads into our culture telling us to just get over it, push past it. There's life to be lived. In your sermon, you talked about there's still laundry to do. There's still jobs to be done. And our culture tells us to just move on. And we hear all the cliches of time heals grief. We hear you'll be over your grief in 2 to 3 months. And then you get the ultimate life advice of just stay busy and don't think about it. And so those aren't exactly helpful, though.
No.
But something you said was a poem, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but the very last sentence was so good. It said this: to be victorious, go through the pain toward the promise. Can you break down what that means? Just kind of explain that a little bit.
Yeah, it's about actually working your grief and not just letting it work you. It's going to work you. Grief is going to work you, and it's going to catch you when you least expect it. You think, I'm having a really good day. This is a good day. Oh, I finally feel like I'm getting over this. And then you're listening to the radio and your song with that person comes on. Yeah. And all of a sudden you're a puddle of tears and you're thinking, I got to pull over. I can't even see to drive. So grief is going to work you. It's going to find things you see, fragrances you smell. Any number of things can trigger your grief. Even watching something on a movie, a TV show, and some scene that you see that clutches you up, and you're thinking, why is that clutching me up? Well, because maybe you had a similar kind of experience with that loved one, and that's your grief working you a little bit. So it does. So pushing through the pain to the promise means I know my grief's going to work me, but I'm going to choose to work my grief. I'm going to actually embrace my pain. I'm not going to bury it. I'm not going to hide what I'm feeling. I'm going to talk to it. Talk to somebody about it. Maybe I'm going to journal about it. Some people get a lot of grief processing and just by writing it. I'm going to pray it through. I'm going to take these emotions to God in prayer. So that's what I mean. You push through the pain. You don't ignore it. You deal with it. You own it. You push through until it does get better. Yeah. Time's not going to make that happen.
Right.
But it can happen in time.
Yes.
But time itself, that doesn't make it happen. You have to intentionally decide at some point, I'm going to work my grief.
Yeah. Well, that's a good word. And I just want to say thank you for this time, and thank you for taking time to do this.
Thank you for doing it.
Absolutely. And the cool thing in all of this is grief is going to come up when we least expect it. But Jesus can meet us right where we are in that grief. And so I just want to end this by you praying for the people who are grieving. Lots of people grieving right now.
Yeah.
And so if you could just pray for us and pray that Jesus would meet them right where they are, that'd be great.
And I just say, anybody who's watching this, you can do grief without Jesus, but why would you want to?
Yeah.
Jesus is such a friend. I mean, the Bible, Isaiah calls him a man of sorrows acquainted with grief. He understands what you're feeling. He knows. And he can reach down to those places that nobody else can touch.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, I commend, if you're watching today, I would commend Jesus to you today. Well, let me pray for you. Father, thank you for relationships that mean so much to us that it really hurts when we lose them. And thank you for the many ways that we can continue to experience the pleasure of memory and things like that come from those relationships, even when the person's not physically with us anymore. But Lord, it hurts so much, and we don't always know where we're going to go from here. It creates so much insecurity about our present and our future, especially initially. And so, Lord, some today who are wrestling with that, those fears, those anxieties, some who are thinking, I think I'm losing my mind. I pray that you might come alongside them and give them peace, that they might reach out to you for your comfort, and that you would touch them in those deepest places, and that they could lean into you and rest in you and bring their grief to you, all of it, their anger, their fears, their anxiety, whatever, their guilt, bring it to you and find some kind of respite, a harbor in the storm, and the peace that passes understanding. You can do this because you are alive and at work, and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.